Hello, horror fans, and welcome back to the Script to Screen podcast, where we delve into the spine-tingling world of horror cinema. Each week, we look at the scariest scenes, unmask the deeper meanings behind your favorite horror films, and explore the psychology of fear that keeps us coming back for more.
From script analysis to scene breakdowns, we'll be dissecting your favorite horror movies to see just what makes them tick. So whether you're a seasoned horror aficionado or just starting to explore the genre, join us as we unravel the spine-tingling stories that haunt the silver screen.
I am Will.
And I'm Lee.
So, Lee, good to see you, buddy. How are you, my ever-loyal partner in crime? How's things? Have you watched anything of interest lately?
Yeah, I'm good. Let's see, what have I watched recently? I finally got around to watching Werewolves. That was pretty fun. And I found out my son had never seen The Fly or Deep Rising, so I had to remedy that immediately.
Oh, nice. Deep Rising and The Fly. Nice double bill. Like it,
It was,
like
but
it.
yeah.
How was Werewolves? I must admit, I hadn't heard the highest praise for this one.
It was enjoyable enough. I mean, sadly, I feel it fell far short of its potential, and in my opinion, it did not live up to the fantastic premise upon which it was built.
Oh, now I love me a bit of critiquing, Lee. So come on, what let it down, dude?
Stir you. I mean, I don't like to shit on stuff, as you well know, and the movie was enjoyable enough, but the characters were just unbelievably stupid. And I'm amazed any of the bumbling protagonists managed to survive the night. And for some reason, the whole movie is plagued by this awful sort of lighting and lens flare to the point that it was ridiculously distracting. But there was a biker werewolf in a leather jacket, so that kind of made up for it. That was pretty cool.
Ah, well, I'm glad it had that going for it at least. Were there any saving graces at all, Lee?
I mean, Frank Grillo. I mean, he's always great to watch. He's one of my favorite actors, and
Oh yeah.
he manages to elevate the film slightly above the average. But yeah, I was just a bit disappointed in it overall.
Yeah, yeah.
I could rant about it for ages, but I'll spare you the I'll spare you the rant. How about you, my man? What's been on your highbrow highlight reel this week?
Well, this week was another Dirt in the Gate screening, Lee, where I managed to catch up with a 35mm print of the Norman Jewison James Caan classic Rollerball. So loads of fun there, 70s James Caan roller skates. What's not to like, Lee?
True that, true that. So, what is strapped on the table for dissection this week?
Okay, well, this week, Lee, we are going to be looking at the indie smash, The Wretched.
Oh man, I'm so excited to cover this. I've been a huge fan of this movie for years, and with a sequel just announced, what better time to cover this low budget masterpiece?
Nice. So this was written and directed by brothers Brett and Drew Pearce. The Wretched was released May 1st, 2020 on a budget of around $1.2 million and would go on to rake in just under 4.5 million at the worldwide box office.
Now, while the numbers may not have set the world alight, this was the number one movie in the North American box office for 6 weeks.
Yeah, now that being the case, these numbers feel a little bit off, Lee.
Understandably, there was unfortunately a massive X factor in play here, that being the goddamn COVID-19 pandemic. The Wretched was one of the few movies to actually push ahead with a cinematic release, and undoubtedly the numbers would have been significantly higher in more normal circumstances.
Yeah, it may not have had the acclaim of being number one at the box office for 6 weeks, though.
Yeah, every cloud, I suppose. But that is a pretty sweet little tidbit to be able to drop on somebody.
Yeah, so how did the film cross your radar, Lee?
Well, I'd heard really good buzz about the movie, and I was lucky enough just to pick up the DVD in Asda Walmart one day, and could not believe how good the movie was.
And you've also spoken to the Pierce brothers, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Drew was a massive help to me during my degree, and I wrote a paper on the Pierce brothers and how they approached making The Wretched. More recently, Brett has been sharing some insights into the writing of the sequel and was kind enough to provide the screenplay for the original movie for us to cover.
Yeah, so really helpful, not only for this episode, but amazingly generous. Sound like a great pair of chats, Lee.
In all seriousness, I cannot say enough good things about these guys. Every time I've reached out to them for help, they've been nothing but engaging and forthcoming. And honestly, they are kind of the blueprint for how I'd like to conduct myself should I ever eventually manage to get a film in production. And that's why I rearranged our playlist a little bit as soon as the script became available.
Yeah, okay. So besides your love of the film, what are your reasons for choosing this film that we'll be taking a deeper dive into today?
Okay, first of all, this film is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the visuals are stunning, and there is some truly breathtaking imagery here. So, we'll be looking at how the Pierce brothers' work as visual storytellers makes the film stand out. Secondly, they've taken a relatively underutilized movie monster, i.e., the witch, and put their own unique spin on it. And we'll be looking at how they've now built a successful franchise by reworking a classic figure from folktale into a brand new beast. Finally, and spoilers abound, this movie features a fantastic twist, which is cleverly seeded throughout the film without ever making it blatantly obvious. So, we'll be looking at how this information has been subtly woven into the plot.
Awesome. So, to clarify, we'll be taking a look at how the film uses its stunning visuals to enhance the story, how a previously little used movie monster has been adapted to terrify modern audiences, and how to subtly insert your major twists into a narrative.
Nailed it. We'll be comparing the film to a copy of the script dated 05 October 2018, written by Brett and Drew Pearce and weighing in at 102 pages. And as always, we are looking at these scripts purely for educational purposes, and all rights remain with their respective authors.
Alrighty then. So, without further delay, let's strap down and slice open The Wretched. While spending the summer in a sleepy coastal town, a troubled teen uncovers a terrifying truth that nobody seems to be aware of. An ancient witch concealed beneath the skin of her victims and feasting on local children. As the wretched hag erases her prey from their loved one's memory, Ben must unearth buried legends and face a mythic evil that thrives on being forgotten. So we open on a rainy yard filled with toys as a young babysitter arrives to watch her charges. A superimposed tells us that we are watching events that occurred 35 years ago.
Going by the film's release date, that would put us in probably my favorite year of all time, 1985.
Okay, so, dude, I can't believe we're sidetracking this early, but 1985, that's your favorite year?
Absolutely, man. It was a good year, you know?
I'm going to nip this little detour in the bud before it gets off the ground, I think, there, Lee. But yeah, it's a delightful little 80s homage. The denim, the Walkman, the VHS tapes, glorious, simpler times, Lee. Our babysitter locates an off the hook phone, which she uses to check in with her mum, and we spot some dead flowers in a vase nearby.
Yeah, we spoke briefly about creating a new movie monster where every monster needs a rule set, and the dead plants are our first hint at the presence of the Wretched's big bad.
So a sound from the basement draws our inquisitive teen down into the dark, where she discovers a photo of the occupants, a mother, father, and young girl. But the father's eyes have been forebodingly scratched out, Lee.
Yeah, more rules set up here.
Another sound sends our hapless sitter deeper into the basement, where she uncovers the grisly sight of the mother feasting on the corpse of the daughter, Lee. Oh my goodness. And there are some really gnarly sound effects at play here as well. The girl flees, but as she nears the top of the stairs, the missing father slams the door on her, and we see a strange symbol carved into the wood as the sound of the babysitter's gruesome demise fills our ears. And it's a great opening face punch, Lee.
It is, agreed. It's a classic example of a cold open, but one that is expertly crafted to introduce to the audience a ton of exposition that will both set up and reinforce key plot points later in the film. Also, the child chomping mom is played here by Madeline Stunkel, who actually plays the hag in all of the creature shots throughout the film.
So, for the audience, Lee, how does this opening scene compare to the script?
Well, interestingly, this whole opening sequence is actually missing from the script.
Yeah, so why the addition, do you think?
Well, we've seen this kind of thing in scripts before. I'd wager it's probably to set the tone of the film and key the audience in on exactly what they can expect down the line. Plus, you want to open with a bang, you know?
Yeah, face punch, dude. Yep, yep. Yeah, if you open on a mother eating the child, then it definitely suggests very little will be off limits, you know? So, as you also mentioned, it does set up several of the hag's rules, which could mean they were originally deemed too vague, perhaps.
Maybe.
As you say, there are a lot of good exposition delivered in this cold open, really expertly crafted stuff here. Anyway, from our cold open face punch, we move to an extreme close up of a teenage boy's face being held underwater. It quickly becomes clear this is no joke. The boy is in serious danger until the boy jerks awake on a bus, and we first meet our young protagonist, Ben, played wonderfully by John Paul Howard. Whether the drowning was a flashback, dream, or premonition remains to be seen, as another handy superimpose informs us that we are no longer in the nostalgic land of the 80s, Lee. Instead, we are witnessing the events of 5 days ago.
This scene actually occurs a little later in the script, and the drowning is accompanied by a voiceover from Ben. Also, the script clearly states the danger Ben is by telling us that he is quite literally dying. And here is that voiceover for you.
Ben, voiceover. Scientists call it LRE, life review experience. It's the theory that under extreme duress, the special part of our brains that stores all the most important memories will trigger into overdrive, causing our life to feel as though it's flashing right before our eyes. Maybe our minds are just searching for closure, or maybe we've been grasping at straws, trying to find something, anything to help us survive. But you know what I think? I think it's karma coming back one last time to tell you that maybe, just maybe, you've always been an asshole. So it's a pretty cool existential monologue. Any thoughts on why it was cut, Lee?
I don't know, man. I mean, it's pretty long. Maybe maybe Ben couldn't hold his breath that long. Nah, in all seriousness, I think maybe it hints a little too strongly at the big twist. What do you think?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I'm not sure if it's on the nose enough to be too much of a reveal. It could be the monologue kind of paints Ben as an asshole, which maybe the Pierces decided they didn't want burdening their protagonist this early, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely a sense that Ben's asshole nature has been toned down from the script, as we'll see in a moment.
Cool. So back to the film, and from across the bus, an old lady comments on the cast over Ben's left arm and states that he's quite the little artist.
Nothing like a crazy, patronizing old lady on a bus to put you in the right mood.
Nothing very artistic about writing your name on a plaster cast.
Hey, everybody's a critic. Also, it's kind of sad he only has his own name on there. I mean, aren't you supposed to have your friends sign these things?
Well, it seems our Ben is a bit of a loner, Lee.
In the script, the old lady asks him how he broke his arm, to which he replies he broke it playing basketball. We are also explicitly made aware of some prescription pills in the old lady's bag.
Upon arriving at his destination, Ben grabs some water from a local store. A crude sign informs us the owner is out fishing, so Ben helps himself to some candies before being reprimanded by the owner's dog for not providing suitable payment.
That is one good dog.
Yeah, definitely no save the cat moment for Ben here.
Yeah, it's worse in the script as we see that he swiped the old lady's prescription pills and pops one with the water.
Duh, what a douchebag.
I know, right? It's a tough line sometimes between having a flawed protagonist and a straight up unlikable one. And I think stealing an old lady's medication might have put Ben too far into unlikable territory.
Yeah, definitely. Well, moving on, we get a cool establishing shot of Ben's dad's house, which sits across from another larger home, outside which a young boy practices his lightsaber skills with a stick.
He's pretty handy with that thing, to give him credit.
He is, isn't he, Lee? He's amazing somehow. Yeah, tell me about it. So, did you play with lightsabers as a child, by the way?
Dude, I play with lightsabers as an adult. Remind me to show you
Nice.
my lightsaber collection sometime.
If anyone else had made me an offer like that, Lee, I'd be wary of a euphemism, I have to say. Anyway, back to the film. And we head inside to meet Ben's father, Liam, as he does his best to cook a family dinner. We also get this brilliant dialogue. Ben, does your TV have a HDMI port? Liam, is it plugged in?
Chef's kiss dialogue there. Previous to this in the script, we get a few short scenes of Ben and his dad arriving and Ben checking out his room, all of which are not present in the film.
There's a great character beat up next as Ben heads to the fridge and finds a photo of him and his dad pinned to it, which has been folded over to hide his absent mother.
Great little show don't tell moment there.
We head outside now as Ben and Liam finish off their meal by moonlight, and Ben focuses on a seemingly forgotten game of Connect 4. The two share some father son banter, and talk turns to Ben's broken arm. His father asks when are they going to talk about it, to which Ben simply replies, not now. Liam retires for the night and puts Ben on dish duty, so he scoots up all the dishes and heads inside.
There's a missing scene here from the script, which again hints at Ben's drug problem. Interior, Shorehouse, bathroom, night. Ben brushes his teeth before bed. Liam leans in. Liam, sleep tight. Liam smiles and exits. Ben spits and rinses, checks the medicine cabinet. Empty. He shuts it.
So the next morning, we briefly meet the family vacationing next door before Liam and Ben head to the marina. And it's some beautiful scenery here, almost akin to Jaws. It seems Liam runs the marina and has set Ben up with a handy summer job. Things don't get off to the best of starts as Ben almost immediately has a run in with a group of teens, led by token asshole Gage, taking a barbecue on a boat despite Ben insisting it's against the rules. On the upside, he does receive some flirtatious looks from token hot girl JJ.
Teenagers are such assholes.
We're all teenagers once, my grumpy friend.
Case in point, though, I was a teenage asshole.
Was?
Dick.
Ben's foul mouthed retort is quickly reprimanded by fellow Marina employee Mallory, played brilliantly by young Piper Kurda. We quickly learn the girl is only teasing, and there's definite chemistry between the two here. Ben then gets a call from his mum, who is just checking in, at which point our young hero spots his dad across the docks in the arms of another womanly.
It's a brilliant use of timing here, having the call from his mom intercut with his dad embracing another woman. And to be clear, Ben's parents are no longer together, but this revelation, coupled with his mum's voice on the phone, is clearly a painful one.
We move now into the creepy woods. The woman and small boy we glimpsed next door earlier are hiking in the woods. The woman is named Abby and her son is Dylan. It's broad daylight, but there's a twang of unease in the air with the ominous music accompanying us here.
Incidentally, this is actually our opening scene in the script.
So while Abby takes a bathroom break in the bushes, Dylan heads off to explore and photograph some nature. As he heads towards his mother's voice, we spot the strange symbol carved on the door in the cold open, scratched above him in the bark of a tree. His mother's voice leads him to a twisted, gnarly old tree, where she calls to him from a dark hole at its base. His reluctance to advance further sends the voice into a shrieking pitch, and an eerie clawed hand emerges slowly from the hole. Boom! His mother appears behind him, and when Dylan looks back, the tree is gone, Lee. It's our first proper scare since the cold open and clocks in at 40 minutes and 20 seconds.
Such a great visual as well, like the twisted tree, the clawed hand. I think every kid knows a scary tree in the local woods, so this is going to hit a familiar note with a lot of people. Incidentally, the hand coming out was originally written and filmed as a hand retracting in, but the footage has been reversed to give it that kind of unnatural feel and the idea of the hag kind of reaching out for Dylan. And another cool tidbit, the dead tree is actually a prop built specifically for the film and sadly is not an actual tree. We then get a cool little scene that was cut from the film yet holds a significant plot detail, so check it out.
Interior, exterior, pickup truck, moving, dirt road, day. The pickup barrels down a remote dirt road. Rap music blares from the radio. Abby and Dylan lip sync to lyrics playfully, each taking their own verse. Dylan throws his arms around, imitating a thug rapper. They share a smile. Then, bam! Something tumbles up the hood, cracking the windshield. The pickup swerves and screeches to a halt. Silence. Abby catches her breath and turns to Dylan. She pats him down, checking for injuries. Abby, baby, are you all right? Dylan nods yes. Abby continued, stay here. Abby exits the pickup. Cut to black.
Yeah. At this point in the script, we cut to the flash of Ben drowning before waking on the bus. I just realized Ben drowned.
Say what now?
It's a famous creepypasta. You've never heard of it?
Dude, I don't even know what a creepypasta is.
Oh, mate, have I got a rabbit hole for you? Okay. So, a creepypasta is kind of like an urban legend that was given life on the internet, where it has been sort of copy pasted creepypasta and become like an integral part of internet lore. You've really never heard of them? No. Well, there's loads of them, and some really good ones like Ben Drowned, Jeff the Killer, Ted the Caver, and the one everyone knows, the Slender Man.
No, never heard of any of them.
You should have a Google, my man. There is some literal gold in them there hills when it comes to storytelling and atmosphere.
Well, Lee, I learned long ago never to Google anything you recommend.
You're missing out, man.
Well, I'm sure my stomach and sanity will thank me later, Lee. So back to the film, and we are formally introduced to the final two members of Abby's family, her husband Ty and baby Sam. And Lee, I have to say, after that cold open, I'm fearing for the well-being of adorable baby Sam and his older brother here. Ty is somewhat appalled by the dead deer hanging out of the back of his wife's truck and heads inside to learn that Abby hit it with the truck on the way home and intends for her and Dylan to skin and gut it for the meat.
Gotta say, Abby is kicking ass at motherhood at this point.
After a reinforcing swig of beer, Abby gets to slicing and disemboweling the animal, only for a heap of black and rotten guts to spill out onto the drive. Rightly disgusted, she sends Dylan inside and abandons her impromptu butchery.
In the script, the rotten guts scene transitions beautifully to the following scene. Interior, shore house, kitchen, night. Canned chili slops into a bowl. A stove top is lit. Liam dumps a pack of hot dogs into a pan. It reminds me of that great transition from The Blob with the kids slurping jello. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And I'd wager the Pierces were going for a similar kind of gross fake out when they wrote this, right?
I would imagine so.
Yeah, so we don't talk about it enough, but scene transitions can be so important. Not so much the type, i.e., sort of fade in or wipe, etc., but the content you're moving to from one scene to another. It can make such a difference when these things are really thought out, you know? So that night, Ben practices guitar on the porch before engaging in a little voyeuristic action as he rear windows Abby and Ty getting frisky next door, only for a shrieking Sam to nip their Freeview fornications in the bud. So later, the moon is full and the wind is howling as we return to the deer corpse as something moves inside. And then, Lee, clawed hands tear open the incision in its belly, and the hag crawls from inside the dead animal and stretches in the moonlight. Oh, it's terrible. And this scare clocks in at 18 minutes and 5 seconds.
It's such an eerie shot. I mean, the sound design is delightfully repugnant, and there's this one horrifically beautiful image of the hag reflected in the dead deer's eye.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful shot. It's really haunting. So later that night, Ben wakes to the sound of something moving across the roof of the house. He grabs a torch and heads outside, as you do. He checks the roof, but the sounds have moved away and he tracks them across the yard from the trees to Abby and Ty's porch. He locates a hole torn in the crawl space and peers inside. It's a false alarm, though, Lee, just a cuddly raccoon.
Oh,
He rises to leave, only to hear a sinister sound behind him. And then at 20 minutes and 30, we see the hag perched on the porch fence studying him. He catches the briefest glimpse before the lights come on, blinding him in the process, and Ty shoos him away.
I love this shot so much. It should be a poster or something. Like the framing, the lighting, the eyes. It's a breathtaking moment.
Oh, awesome visuals.
Yeah, I mean the Pierces are incredibly visual filmmakers. I mean they storyboard and shot list everything in meticulous detail, and it really is clear to see in their work.
Yeah, there's something really special about the way this film looks, I think. So, the planning done in both writing and pre-production, it really shows.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to put the end of Act One around here. I mean, Ben is aware something is off. The hag is lurking beneath the house, and everything is set for immediate escalation. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're in sync here, Lee. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. So the following morning, young Dylan heads outside to work on his Jedi skills as Liam checks the fridge and notices the photograph of him, Ben, and his mother has been unfolded. So a really cool character beat there. There is a confrontation of sorts brewing, and yet it's been built between them without a single word being spoken. Great use of mise en scene to eliminate the need for dialogue in their exposition. As Ben hurries out to meet his dad in the truck, he spots Dylan poking around the hole in the crawl space and is quick to warn him away. It's a nice little moment which starts to paint Ben in a slightly more empathetic light, I feel. In the truck, Ben asks his dad about the woman at the marina, who we learn is called Sarah. Ben asks to meet her, and Liam is pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, this about face seems to come a little out of nowhere, but there are a couple of scenes in the script which aren't in the film that fill in a lot of the blanks here. First, there is a short scene of Liam discovering the stolen pills in Ben's bag.
Interior, marina office, day. Ben enters. He glances up to find a collage of photos featuring marina employees and their families. He hears movement at the other side of the office. He approaches and leans over the lip of his dad's desk. Liam rummages through Ben's backpack. He turns around, holding the old woman's prescription bottle. Ben's shoulders sink. Busted.
This is then followed by a passionate confrontation between father and son, which reads as follows.
Interior, exterior, Liam's Jeep, moving, road, night. A quiet frustration and distrust holds heavy in the car as Liam and Ben drive home. Ben, it's for my arm, it's for the pain. Liam, that's not going to fly. You can't bullshit your way out of this. Liam reads the prescription pill bottle in his hand. Liam continued. Who's Nora Mathers? Ben. Some old lady from the bus. Liam. You stole meds from an old woman? Ben. It's just codeine. She'll get more. Liam. I didn't raise you to be a thief or an addict. Ben. You used to steal beers from Grandpa. Liam. Don't be smart, kiddo. There's a world of difference there and you know it. Ben. I'm not an addict. Don't make this a thing. Liam. This is a thing. Guess you broke that arm serving food to the poor. Ben. It's for fun. I've done it a few times, just like everybody else. Drop it. Liam. Drop it. I'm not mum. You're not going to lie to me. Ben. You're the fucking liar. Liam. Watch it. They sit in silence. Resentment builds up in Ben until he just can't hold it any longer. Ben. You're cheating on mum. Liam. What? That doesn't even make... Ben. You're screwing that chick at the marina and mum wants to fix things. Liam. Ben, you don't know what you're talking about. Ben. I saw you today. I'm not an idiot. Liam. Ben. Ben. You don't even fucking care. You just left. You left us. You didn't even fucking try. She still loves you. Liam. Yeah? Then why was she sleeping with someone else? The silence holds. Interior, exterior, Liam's Jeep, shore house, driveway, night. They pull up the driveway. Liam throws the Jeep in park. They both want to say something but can't find the words. Liam exits and heads inside. Ben follows.
Yeah, so you can see, had these scenes played out, it would have made a lot more sense as to the nature of their reconciliation.
Yeah, definitely. So you know what I'm going to ask, Lee? Why do you think cut them?
Well, it's clear from its absence that the Pierces opted not to dwell too much on Ben's addiction backstory. I think most likely because it made Ben too unrootable in the early stages of the film. I mean, if your first instance of a character is them stealing pain meds from a sweet old lady, it's not going to endear them well to an audience. And this whole confrontation is just about both of them letting go of all the pent up feelings they've been holding on to. And it's only by doing so that they are able to move on and heal their relationship.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I'd agree. It would also be a storyline which would need to be resolved in Act 3. And, that stage may just be baggage you don't need,
Hmm.
Anyway, at the marina, Ben meets Mallory's younger sister Lily, who proclaims that you're not that cute, inferring that somebody, most likely her sister, thinks otherwise.
It's worth noting that the script and film have been largely out of sync up until this point. Almost everything has played out as written, but the order has been changed for the actual film, with the addition of the cold open, moving then straight to Ben and then to Abby. In the script, though, we spend a lot more time with Abby and her family before being gradually introduced to Ben. I mean, having looked at both, I think the film definitely handles the pacing better. What say you, my friend?
Yeah, I tend to agree, Lee. Certainly, watching the film, I felt it was a really well balanced setup between the introduction of Abby, Ty, and the kids, and our protagonist.
Also, just before their reconciliation in the script, Ben hands over his pills to his father as a peace offering and a sign that he really wants to fix their relationship.
Yeah, so as Lee said, we're largely back in sync with the film now as we check back in with the neighbors. Ty hoses down the gore coated truck while Abby carries Sam outside. There's a really well framed shot of her just walking out the front door, silhouetted against the daylight here. Outside, she stoops to pick up the baby's teether and notices all the dead plants around the crawl space. There's a cool POV of the hag watching her from under the house before a full nappy sends Abby and the baby back inside. And there's a really cool shot of the flowers wilting due to the unseen witch's presence here, which is amazing. Off to the marina now, and Ben stumbles upon young Dylan taking a nap in a boat. Desperate to evade the sailing practice his parents have signed him up for, a sympathetic Ben offers him the key to the cafeteria on the condition that he informs him of any strange goings on around his house.
This scene originally occurs much earlier in the script, but I think it works better here as it allows Ben to add the stipulation of keeping him informed of anything weird going on at Dylan's house.
Mm. So Liam sends Ben to pick up some dinner rolls for their meal with Sarah tonight.
Gluten free.
Yes, can't forget that. So Ben heads back to the store where he initially encountered the guard dog earlier and bumps into Mallory, who invites him to a party that night. Ben declines, but an awkward phone call from his mother tips him over the edge and he bails on his dad to party with Mallory. That night, the local teens engage in an after dark party. After some drinks and party games, Ben and Mallory spend some time alone, and there's definitely some chemistry here. They open up to one another, and Ben confesses that he broke his arm jumping from a second-story window after breaking into his neighbor's house to steal some Vicodin. Now, this is the first mention of Ben's addiction backstory to appear on screen, although it's been thoroughly fleshed out on the page. Why do you think they left this small aspect of his drug history in while cutting all the rest?
I think at this point we've been given enough time to warm to Ben as our protagonist, so that rather than put us off him, it kind of endears us to him a little bit. We love flawed characters, but we also have to see the good in them, or they just come off as assholes, you know?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So our two young lovebirds are definitely connecting now. They move in for a kiss, Lee, only for Ben to throw up all over poor Mallory.
Oof.
Back to the house next door, and Dylan is awakened by the sound of something moving through the house. Abby is stirred from sleep by the sound of something sinister on the baby monitor. Baby Sam cries but falls silent just before Abby opens his door to check on him. She heads back to bed, checking the baby cam before falling back asleep. Somehow, she misses the dark silhouette lurking near the cot, and it's a truly chilling moment, clocking in at 30 minutes and 15 seconds.
Oh man, yeah, that hand reaching into the cot, that is absolutely terrifying.
Oh, it's the worst, Lee. I
It's
hate those shots. Freak me out every time. So back at the party, and a distraught Ben is comforted by JJ, who brings him some water before stripping down to her underwear and slipping into the deserted pool. So poor Ben tries and fails to play it cool. He strips off and joins the girl in the pool, who then relieves him of his underwear and reveals it's all a prankly, courtesy of teen a-hole Gage, would you believe? Oh, what an ass. Mallory is not impressed, and Little Her and Ben retreats in humiliation. So back at the house next door, and Abby wakes to find Dylan standing over her. She ushers the frightened boy into bed with them and notices that the baby cam has been moved and now points slightly away from the crib. She heads to the nursery and, after closing the window, moves to the crib to find a perfectly swathed bundle that is eerily stilly.
Oh man, I mean Zara Marla, who plays Abby, does such a fantastic job here. Like the fear in her eyes as she reaches for that bundle is palpable.
Yeah, it's a really chilling sequence which kicks off at around the 33 minutes and 55-second mark. She pulls the blanket away to reveal a crudely bound bundle of sticks and slowly becomes aware of the wet, crunching sound coming from beneath the crib. Blood pools beneath her feet as two clawed hands snatch her ankles and drag her under the cribly. Louder crunches can be heard over the baby cam, but Dylan and Ty are both sound asleep. So I have to say, Lee, despite our face punching cold open, I'm a little shocked a baby was actually eaten in this movie.
It does happen off screen, to be fair.
Still, for what largely plays as a coming of age teen movie, that felt pretty extreme, dude.
Yeah, that old horror no-no. You don't kill children or dogs. I mean, it's kind of outdated these days, to be fair. Sensibilities have shifted and people aren't as easily phased as they once were.
Yeah, I have two words for you, Lee: desensitized monster. Back in the movie, and an intoxicated and embarrassed Ben returns home, just in time to see a bloody Abby carrying a baby shaped bundle off into the woods. He's interrupted by Liam, who, after his initial relief on finding his absentee son, vents his anger, insisting he apologize to Sarah. Ben refuses to apologize to some bitch his dad is sleeping with, and yep, you guessed it, Sarah is standing right there. So strained moments abound as Sarah leaves and Ben storms off to bed.
Awkward.
Awkward indeed, Lee. Thought Sarah handled it quite classily, though, to be honest. The following morning, Ty and Dylan go about their business, neither noticing the state of Abby as she stumbles ponderously through the house. Funny line about her needing a shower, though, which made me snigger there, Lee. At the marina, things are awkward between Ben and Mallory, and after being mocked by a-hole Gage, Ben dumps a load of trash and fish guts in Gage's dad's boat. Back at the house next door, and Dylan checks on his pet bunnies, only to find one missing. He carries the remaining rabbit upstairs, only to stumble upon his mother standing naked on the landing. The silent Abby cracks her neck round and fixes the boy with a hungry glare before retreating to an adjacent room.
Yeah, there are a couple of interesting points in the script here and the way it is written. First of all, let's look at the scene where Dylan checks on the rabbits. Exterior, house next door, backyard, day. Dylan plays with a wiffle bat, smacking a ball across the yard. The ball hits his bunny cage and he runs up to retrieve it. He notices there's only one bunny inside. Where is the other one? And see, that's a line that is sure to trigger the show don't tell crowd. Where is the other one?
Yeah, it's an interesting choice of wording here. So, have you got any thoughts?
I mean, it's a stylistic choice, isn't it? I mean, to be sure, but it's also an effective one, ask the same question that Dylan is asking himself.
Yeah, and I picked up on this throughout the script. Often a character's thoughts are posed as questions in the text. So it's quite engaging for the reader, but also I imagine it serves really helpfully as directorial notes, reinforcing where a character's mind is and the motivation behind their performance.
Hmm. And a short while later, when Dylan stumbles upon his naked mother, we get this brilliant scene. Interior house next door, upstairs hallway, day. Dylan. Mom? Beat. Dylan crests the stairs. Out the window, stark naked, facing out, her body slack and hunched with poor posture. Dylan. Mom? Abby's head snaps to the side, looking back to her son. There's no illusion. This is not his mother. Dylan wants to run. He's paralyzed. Then, Abby steps into her room and slams the door. With this line in particular, I absolutely love. There's no illusion. This is not his mother. And it's a great example of that old trope where kids are always the first to pick up on supernatural elements, you know?
Yeah, where's the monster squad when you need him? Also, why do you think it's often the kids that suss out the presence of an evil more efficiently than adults?
I think it's that whole loss of innocence thing. I mean, kids are for the most part pure and untainted by the world, hence they see things as they are and not how society conforms them to think. Plus, it usually puts them in danger, and there's nothing more guaranteed to get an audience's attention than some supernatural child endangerment.
Yeah, absolutely. So night has fallen at the marina, and a regretful Ben asks Sarah if he can have a lift home. Ben and Sarah bury their differences on the ride home. It's a nice little character beat from Sarah, who we haven't really spent much time with as yet. It's good to know, as she puts it, she's not just some bitch his dad is sleeping with.
Yeah, it's a nice little callback as well. It shows that she hasn't forgotten the slight, but is willing to forgive and move on from it.
So upon returning home, Ben hears footsteps upstairs and grabs a golf club and heads to investigate.
Run, Joel, run!
Now you've lost me, Lee.
Sorry, past trauma re-emerging.
Okay. Working that sort of thing out in public is not the English way, Lee. File it under for repression. Ben heads upstairs to find a cowering Dylan plus Bunny hiding in his room.
Yeah, the thoughtful kid has even put a towel under the bunny in case it poops on his bed, which I thought was nice.
Yeah, spiffing work from the young man. I think we can all agree there. The boy's face drops as his mother's voice calls out to him, and he whispers to Ben, "Don't let her in."
There's a really cool example of word placement and positioning in the script here, with the following placed at the bottom of the page. Interior shore house, attic, stairway, night. He moves upstairs to his bedroom and puts his ear close, listening. Raising the club at the ready, he turns the door handle slowly and swings it open to reveal. And if you want to know what's in Ben's room, you have to turn the page of the script. It's a really simple and really cool way of inserting a little cliffhanger into your written work.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? So there's a really creepy shot of Abby's shadow looming across the floor as she approaches. She asks if his parents are home before dreamily focusing on Ben and asking if Dylan is inside. To his credit, though, Ben susses something is very wrong here and claims not to have seen the boy. Abby isn't buying it and tries to enter, only for Ben to forcibly hold the door shut. It's a delightfully creepy scene, and it clocks in at around 42 minutes and 30 seconds. She threatens to snap the other arm when Ty returns and Dylan bolts for his dad. One creepy stare down later, and Ben watches confused as his neighbors return home.
Yeah, I just want to point out Zara Marler again here. I mean, on top of the awesome sort of monster moves she pulled off earlier as the hag was settling under Abby's skin, she does a really great job of kind of uncanny valleying Abby here. You know, Gone is like that punk sort of like modern aesthetic and the tomboyish nature. Now she's graceful and clad in flowing dresses, yet she kind of moves like she has to concentrate on every action she takes. It's a really, I think, understated performance.
Yeah, there's this poise and a movement or lack thereof which she exhibits, which is really pretty unnerving, right? It's a great performance. So back at the marina, Mallory clocks off for the night, only to discover a peace offering of her favourite candy stashed in her bag. This is actually a callback to a conversation her and Ben have at their first meeting, and the smile on her face suggests the move has paid off and Ben is out of the doghouse.
Smooth.
Smooth indeed, my friend. So back at the neighbour's house now, and Dylan confesses to his dad that Mum is being weird. Ty's unfazed though, commenting that she's always been weird. And on the way to bed, he stops off in Baby Sam's nursery. Only it's not a nursery anymore. The crib and the toys have been removed. Seemingly nonplussed though, Ty brushes his teeth and heads for bed. Shouldn't alarm bells be ringing? Methinks malefic magic may be at work here, Lee. It seems the witchified Abby is feeling frisky as she practically pounces on poor Ty as Ben peeping toms from across the yard.
Never look a gift horse in the mouth, I guess.
Yeah, perv. What a perv. We catch a brief glimpse of the nocturnal nookie, and the rotting skin on Abby's back makes it apparent that the hag may soon be looking for a new residence. The next morning, Ben is alarmed that Dylan doesn't show up for a sailing class and promptly ditches work to go check on him.
Yeah, it's another really cool character beat, and Ben is definitely shaping up to be hero material, I'd say.
Absolutely.
In the script, we get a few scenes that hint at poor Dylan's fate. Check it out.
Exterior, house next door, cellar doors, night. Angle on the cellar doors. The wind is picking up. Interior, house next door, cellar, night. A candle is lit. Dylan's bunny fights as it's held down on a worn workbench. Slice. A knife opens its throat. Legs twitch. Blood pools into a bowl. A family photo of Abby, Ty, and their children. Fingers smear blood across Dylan's face. Dried blood already covers Sam. Interior, house next door, Dylan's bedroom, night. Dylan stirs in bed. He looks to his bedroom door. The lock rattles and snaps open. Ben heads to the neighbours but finds that Ty has no recollection of Dylan, claims never to have had a son, and promptly ushers a confused Ben off his porch. Before leaving, Ben notices scratch marks near the door and uncovers a crude symbol, the strange deer head we've seen several times before. He heads back to his room and consults that expositional godsend, the internet.
I remember the old days when it was a musty library tome or a crazy old person. Kids these days are spoiled by the internet, man, I tell you.
Welcome to the modern era, my socially stagnant friend. Books and old people can't compare to a Google image search. And one little montage later, we are all caught up on the hag and her wicked methods.
There's a really cool line in the internet search, which I think is a shame wasn't used more in the marketing. The Dark Mother, born from root, rock, and tree. Not to mention some really great witchy artwork. The random side note, when I was a kid, I was always really gutted that my local library never had cool books like this about monsters and the like.
Yeah, strike against the British Library Association from Lee there, or maybe for it. Who knows? Who knows what's right anymore? So, with Mallory's aid, Ben keeps watch on the neighbours while pouring salt across his door to keep evil spirits out. They watch as Abby secures the basement, and Mallory jokes about how many dead babies she must have down there.
Ooh, if only she knew.
Ben is all in on the witch theory now, especially after a visit to Wikipedia.com.
Side note, there actually is a Wikipedia.com, but it's nowhere near as kitschy as the one in the film.
You a common frequenter of Wikipedia?
It was a one and done, but I'd have been shocked if it didn't exist in some form. In the script, Ben's internet exploration is summed up nicely by a video blog telling us all about witches and a really cool Blair Witch style video of hikers discovering examples of the witch's symbol in the woods. The conversation with Mallory is pretty much word for word as written.
To Ben's dismay, Mallory heads next door and slips something under their front door before texting him that she's poked the bearly. Ben looks up to see Abby staring at him from across the way.
It's a really cool shot. Her hair is blowing, even though it doesn't seem like there's any wind.
Moments later, Ty discovers the mysterious message, a crude sketch of a witch along with the words, "We know what's in your cellar." Somewhat perplexed, he heads for the cellar, but is interrupted by Abby, who distracts him with a beer before whispering something in a sinister unknown language in his ear. Whatever she says renders Ty near comatose, and a thick rivulet of blood pours from his ear at this point. That night at the marina, Sarah and Mallory lock up, and Abby can briefly be glimpsed watching them through the window.
Yeah, looks like poking that bear might have been a very bad idea.
Very bad idea, Lee. As after Mallory departs, we see that her family photo has been swiped from the marina pinboard. Meanwhile, Ben checks the neighbor's trash only to discover a ton of toys and a photo of baby Sam. Abby, meanwhile, is quite literally starting to rot away as the hag corrupts the body from within. A really grim shower scene and a classic tooth pull a la The Fly informs us that this disguise isn't going to last much longer. It's a nice piece of body horror clocking in at 57 minutes and 5 seconds. There's a really cool wide shot next as Ben pours salt around his house and Abby marches from her house to his, clad in a femme fatale flowing red dress and heavy sunglasses. Ben flees inside and she slides the witch note under his door, a sinister warning, methinks.
Yeah, it's a declaration of war, I reckon, as from this point on, Ben is firmly on the hag's radar.
Yeah, so Ben decides he has got to get inside that cellar and grab some bolt cutters from the tool shed. Unable to work the cutters with his broken arm, Ben resorts to smashing his way in. Beneath the house, he locates the hag's altar, a human figure made of bound sticks and holding her sinister deer skull mask. He finds a photo of Ty, Abby, Sam, and Dylan with Ty's eyes scratched out. He starts to call the police, but stalls as he spots a second photo, the one missing from the marina. Mallory, her mother, and sister, only the two adults' eyes have been scratched out.
In the script, the children's faces have been obscured with dried blood, but I like the whole eye scratching thing better. I think it emphasizes more that the parents cannot see their children anymore, and thus have no memory of them.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely clarifies things a little bit, I think. So things go from bad to worse as Ben pedals for all he's worth to the marina. He calls Mallory to warn her about Lily, but Mallory has already seemingly forgotten who Lily is. At the park, Lily's attempts to get her big sister's attention fall on literal deaf ears, and the girl descends a playslide only to find Abby waiting for her at the bottom. Ben arrives just in time to catch a glimpse of Abby and Lily heading into the woods and dashes to intercept, only to be cut off by teen a-hole Gage, who delivers a beatdown for dumping garbage in his dad's boat.
It's an unfortunate moment of karma for poor Ben. I mean, if he'd just risen above, he may have been able to rescue Lily here.
Bad karma indeed, as he falls just short of dragging Lily free from the witch's tree, falling and knocking himself out on a rock for good measure. So it's a really chilling scene at 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 20 seconds, and gut wrenching to have our hero fail at this moment, Lee.
Yeah, in the script, we have a short dream sequence that again hints at the big twist, but this is missing from the film.
Interior, shore house, attic bedroom, dream sequence, day. Ben slowly approaches his bedroom door. Hesitant, he opens the door slowly. At the window stands a young boy, Ethan, looking out. The boy slowly turns to face us. He's wearing the hag's deer skull mask. When Ben comes around, it's just after nightfall and the tree is gone.
I love the fact that the tree moves around, you know. I mean, like imagine it appearing in a town square or Central Park and no one can see it, or even like your own backyard. I mean, man, that is terrifying.
Yeah, I'd be whipping a chainsaw out post haste if I ever caught a whiff of that tree in my garden, Lee. So Ben makes his way home only to find the police in his house. The neighbors have reported him for breaking in. Liam is aware of the fight at the marina and is convinced his son is on something. He intends to take him back to his mother's and get him checked into a clinic. A desperate Ben struggles to convince his dad to just look in Abby's basement, but Liam is having none of it and heads out to talk to the police. Ben storms into the kitchen where he's confronted by Sarah, who does her best to reassure him everything will be okay. It's a really sweet little pep talk, at least until Ben notices Sarah filling her coffee with creamer. Hold on, wasn't she? The daisies on the window start to wilt, and Ben is struck by the awful truth.
The hag is in Sarah's body.
Oh, great little twist scare at 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 5 seconds. The hag tells him that she likes this house before going full Evil Dead on him.
I'm glad you thought that too. It's such a cool shot. The lights cool, her eyes glow, and she attacks.
Yeah, Ben snatches up a kitchen knife and slashes her arm before his dad rushes in and subdues him. And you know what's going to happen now, right, Lee?
Oh, yeah.
Poor Sarah lies wailing on the floor, all helpless and wounded, while Ben is bundled off into a police car. A tearful Ben desperately tries to convince his dad what's going on and watches helplessly as Sarah whispers in the ear of the policeman about to drive him into the station.
Oh, man. John Paul Howard is so good here, and you can feel his dismay and terror as he's pleading for his dad to help him. I mean, incidentally, beginning of Act 3 here, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, Lee. Yeah. So back in the house, and Sarah tries to delay Liam from heading to the police station with a bottle of wine. Meanwhile, in the cop car, Ben notices the blood running from the cop's ear, Lee.
Yep, and we've seen that before and know exactly what that entails.
Yeah, things are not looking good for Ben.
No, sir.
Sarah tries everything she can to keep Liam from leaving, but this scheming honeypot is not about to keep him from his son, and he pulls away and heads to his car. Just before starting her up, he looks over at the neighbour's house. Perhaps Ben's words didn't fall completely on deaf ears after all. As for Ben, though, things are going from awful to somehow worse as the cop pulls up to the lakeshore and drags Ben out of the car. It may well be the final curtain for our hero at 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 35 seconds as the cop proceeds to drown him in the lake.
Linking us beautifully to that shot of Ben drowning from the beginning of the film.
It looks like Ben has bought the farm when he's roused by the sound of a barking dog. He pulls himself from the water to find the fisherman's dog from the store, whom we've glimpsed several times throughout the movie, engaged in a battle with the corrupted cop. Just when it looks like he might be saved from the cop shoots the dog. God damn it, Lee. Sheer depravity.
In the script, you can hear the cop sobbing as he tries to drown the poor lad.
With Dog disabled, the cop turns his gun on Ben, but is unable to shoot the pleading teen, and in a final act of desperation, turns the gun upon himself.
Ah, it's brutal. You know how sometimes a performance is so good, it seems to come out of nowhere? I mean, this poor cop doesn't have a single line, barely a minute's screen time, and yet he absolutely kills it here.
Yeah, it's a really intense scene. It made me think of the werewolf guy in Monster Squad for some reason. You know, when he's in the police station screaming to be locked up. Just a really powerful moment that kind of rocks the audience with how unexpected it is. So, with the audience still reeling, Ben scoops up the fallen hero's gun and speeds off in the cop car as Mallory looks on in confusion. Back at the house and in a cheer at the scream moment, Liam investigates the cellar at last. But
Yay.
there's nothing untoward to be found. Just as he's about to give up, he spots Ty plodding into the adjacent barn, and after a moment decides to follow him, where he discovers the man has just hung himself alongside the hollowed out corpse of Abby. It's a really grim revelation at 1 hour, 14 minutes. Not only that, but the hag's altar is here in all its glory.
Yeah, I'm guessing Liam is rethinking his stance on his son's mental state right about now. Also, and it's been bugging me the whole movie, the actor who plays Liam, Jameson Jones, really reminds me of someone, and I've just realized who it is.
Ah, well, don't keep us all in suspense, Lee.
John Schneider from Smallville.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah. Maybe it's the whole brooding dad thing.
Hmm.
So Liam investigates the altar, finding the photo of Abby and her family, as well as a photo of himself, Ben, and his mother, all with their eyes scratched out. He has no time to register this because Sarah looms behind him, skull mask donned, and stabs him in the back. Liam collapses into the altar, knocking it over and breaking his oil lamp, which quickly sets the barn ablaze. He crawls to the stairs and stumbles down as Sarah stalks him.
Or in the script, to add insult to injury, he falls down the stairs and suffers a bone protruding leg break.
Yeah, why do you think they spared him that in the film?
I like to think, maybe the poor guy has suffered enough, but it was probably a budgetary thing. I mean, I'd imagine you'd need a stunt guy to fall down the stairs, then an FX shot of the bone protruding, and ultimately, beside the extra gross out, it wouldn't really have added anything to the film.
So back to the movie, and Leah manages to clock Sarah with a shovel, seemingly breaking her neck, but not putting her down. So there's this fantastic SFX shot here as her head snaps back into place, and the hag can be seen readjusting herself from beneath Sarah's skin. More gruesome body horror at 1 hour, 16 minutes.
In the script, this is wonderfully written as follows.
He swings, and Sarah takes the hit across the face. Liam collapses to his knees. He turns. Sarah's neck is twisted back, her jaw slack and grotesque. Beneath the skin of her neck, the hag's thin fingers slide up and grip Sarah's jaw like a puppet. They snap her neck back into place with a crunch. Sarah then proceeds to choke the life out of Liam. At one point, the hag's arm rips from her body and claws at his face. Thankfully, Ben arrives in the nick of time and puts 3 rounds into the hateful hag, dropping her and saving his father. Some days, though, you just can't put an ancient witch down, and Sarah's body convulses as the hag tears its way out of her mortally wounded body at 1 hour 17 minutes. Ben drags Liam to the car as the hag is sickeningly reborn. Ben locates the keys just as the altar and the photos it contains is finally consumed by fire.
Here we go. Stellar twist incoming.
Yeah, spoiler alert, everyone. As the photos are burnt, we get a final look at Ben's family photo himself, father, mother, and a small boy. Ben reels as stolen memories come hurtling back. We get a montage of key moments throughout the film, only now they are populated by Ben's younger brother Nathan, called Ethan in the script. He looks at his cast, now full of crudely drawn dinosaurs, and his little brother's name. A scream from the nearby house, and Ben tells his dad he's got to go rescue Nathan.
Yeah, we'll talk about the twist properly in the breakdown and how well it was executed here. But I have one question. Did you figure it out beforehand?
No, I didn't have a clue, to be honestly. So Ben dashes to Nathan's room only to find the window broken and his brother missing. Without skipping a beat, Ben heads to the shed for supplies, gasoline, rope, and salt, and is joined by Mallory, who is desperate to find her sister, and the two of them head off into the woods in pursuit of Nathan's screams.
In the script, Ben finds the tree first and then heads back to the shed to gather essential supplies.
So back on screen, Ben and Mallory reach the tree. Ben douses it in gasoline and secures a guide rope to a nearby tree. He then instructs Mallory to encircle the tree with salt, and if he isn't back in 10 minutes, to burn it down.
Pretty badass, man.
Ben has really stepped up and he descends into the witch's lair now. It's ominous, to say the least, partially flooded and full of clawing roots. Old broken toys are scattered around, as well as countless small human shaped bones. So, his attention focused on a narrow tunnel, he draws the gun and moves deeper underground. As Ben crawls further into the lair, Mallory salts the ground around the tree. Ben finds Nathan, half bound up in tree roots but seemingly unharmed. He sends his little brother back the way he came as the sound of crunching bones draw him deeper into the tunnel. He comes across the hag, feasting hungrily on poor Dylan's remains. It's our first proper look at the hag in its natural form and one hell of a visual at 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 35 seconds. So the hag flees, dragging Dylan's corpse away, and Ben retreats to see his brother to safety. They're nearing the exit when a sound from above causes Ben to look up, only to be dragged into a ceiling tunnel by a vile creature.
They're coming out of the goddamn walls.
Well, technically, she came out the ceiling, but yes, the walls, Lee! Ben puts another 3 rounds into the hag, and it drops him back into the tunnel. He gets his brother to the rope, and Mallory helps to lift him to safety. He's about to leave himself when a weak cough from somewhere in the lair stops him dead. It has to be Lily, right?
Well, for Ben's sake, I hope so.
Our teenage hero wades back into the cave, and amongst the discarded toys and half eaten children, he spots Lily, bound in roots against a far wall. Her discarded Polaroid camera lies forgotten nearby. As he struggles to free her, the hag rises from the murky water behind him. It's a great looming dread scare at 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 20 seconds. The wounded hag attacks, but is momentarily flustered by, and I'm just going to say it with utter glee, Lee, Rear Window is everywhere. Lily blasting her with a camera flash, giving Ben enough time to stab the creepy crone with a deer antler. It's enough to allow Ben to get Lily to safety and drag himself out from beneath the tree. But we're not out of the woods yet. The hag grabs Ben's legs and crawls up for the kill. It's Mallory's time to shine now as she pitches a handful of salt into the creature's face, causing it to release Ben, just as Liam rocks up in the car and pastes the hag full speed against the trunk of the tree.
Moosh.
So we catch up with Mallory now, and she's in therapy along with her sister. And the therapist asks about Lily saying that they have to burn the tree. After a brief flashback of them doing exactly that, she plays it off as nothing more than something from one of her sister's nightmares. At the marina, she picks a flower and pops it in her hair before ushering her next quota of kids off for their boat lesson. We also see, and this made my daily, that our heroic dog from earlier survived its gunshot wound and has been returned to the old fisherman's side. Get in!
You can eat all the babies you like, but don't you dare put a good dog down.
Not if you want Will as a fan, that's for sure. So Ben arrives to say goodbye, and the family are heading back to Detroit. They share an awkward hug, and she gives him the flower as a gift from Lily. Ben mans up enough to slap a goodbye smooch on the girl, and she waves him off, telling him not to forget her. Ben and the family head off into the sunset, and damn it if it didn't all work out in the end.
Yeah.
Ben smells the flower Mallory gave him, only to discover it's fakely. A look of concern crosses his face. Does this mean something? Should he go back? Our last shot is of Mallory adrift with a boatload of small children just staring at the camera. So is this the hag in a new body? Did poor Mallory bite the farm off screen?
It's certainly alluded to, isn't it? I mean, who knows? Well, we do, because according to the script, Mallory takes a seat at the front. She stares out at the empty lake as children fidget and play behind her. We hold a little too long, the playful laughter of children echoing in her ears. She is alone, with only children, a wolf amongst sheep. She is the hag. Cut to black. The end.
So much for that happy ending.
And happy endings are for fairy tales and massage parlors, my friend. They have no place in a horror movie.
Well, we'll have to disagree on that one. Some of us appreciate a rise above the bleakness every now and again, Lee.
Yeah, fair do. So come on, my man. What did you think?
Oh, dude, I thought this was really effective, like really tense, really atmospheric. Yeah, really enjoyed it a lot. I thought the manner in which the Pierce brothers used all the elements of filmmaking was really a joy. Great imagery, great sound design, production design, mise en scene. I thought it was all working really well here. I thought the film was really well paced, really nice twist, good performances all round, and just really entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, this film blew me away the first time I saw it, and I've gone out of my way to show it off to anyone who will watch it with me. You know, you ever find when you're watching a great film with someone else and you spend more time watching the viewer than the film as you're enjoying their reactions? That's kind of what I'm like with The Wretched, especially when the big twist is revealed. It's just a masterclass in both creating a horror villain and perfectly seeding a twist. You know, the hag has a well established set of rules, weaknesses, and a truly chilling MO, all of which is revealed naturally throughout the film.
Okay, then, dude, it's that time. Let's break this baby down.
Oh, yeah.
So, as I'm sure you're all aware by now, we begin the breakdown with a retrospective look at our reasons for choosing the film. So, first off the bat, let's look at how The Wretched uses visual storytelling to elevate itself above the competition.
Well, as you heard during the story summary, there are loads of really striking visuals in this film. I mean, Drew Pearce himself was a professional storyboard artist for over 10 years and was able to lay down a solid visual blueprint to accompany the script.
Yeah, I mean, storyboarding is not an unusual thing in and of itself, but it does seem like the Pierces have elevated it to an art form of sorts.
It's a fascinating aspect of film creation, which, to be honest, I haven't really given too much thought about. I mean, Brett spoke once about comparing the script and storyboards to see what works in one and not the other as a really good way to help prepare your story for the screen. And I think that's such a great thing to be able to do, which never really occurred to me before. I mean, I've toyed with storyboarding a couple of times, but it just kind of looked like a bunch of stickmen having violent discourse. So, I've not ventured too deeply into that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think storyboarding is a really great tool. It's obviously a cheap pass at making the movie. Can really help you plan your sequences or transitions, and those plans can feed into other departments that you're working with when production rolls around. So I think it become really helpful in trying to finance a film too. People can see you've planned the whole thing out and you know how to tell a story visually. It can help build confidence in a production from a financier's perspective. Some folk prefer a shot list, and there's always danger that storyboards can become a bit of a hindrance, if they're stuck to too rigidly. but I'd really recommend using storyboards or shot lists when you're planning a film, no doubt about that. Okay, so let's talk about our witchy fiend, the hag. The Pierces initially decided they wanted to make their own version of a witch because let's face it, there hasn't been many truly scary witches on the screen, save perhaps for those featured in The Wizard of Oz and, of course, Roald Dahl's The Witches. I struggle to think of any genuinely disturbing ones, though.
And there's a few that pop into my head. Autopsy of Jane Doe, Suspiria, the original Conjuring, and of course the Blair Witch. But there's nothing with the uniqueness or visual bite of the Wretched's hag, especially when it dons its deer skull mask and gives off some serious Wendigo vibes. Inspired by legends like Black Annis, Jenny Greenteeth, and the Boo Hag, the Pierces drew upon a wealth of folklore to sculpt their own unique child eating horror. And there are a lot of signature aspects afforded to the hag. You know, the whole living inside another's skin, making people forget about their loved ones, the dead tree, the rotting plants, the scratched symbols, and the removed eyes in photographs. And weaknesses too, salt, burning the tree, all these things lend themselves magnificently to a franchise. And I'm surprised it took so long to get a sequel underway.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I genuinely hope this becomes a regular franchise because it definitely deserves it, right? So now on to that twist, Lee. You mentioned about it being seeded carefully throughout. So do you care to enlighten us on these little clues?
Absolutely. So obviously, the twist is that Ben has been made to forget about his younger brother, Nathan. And despite his absence for most of the movie, this actually happens quite late in the film, as Nathan is present right up until the hag's altar is burned. And we know this because Ben and Liam are both seen interacting with the boy right up until the final act. But our first clue comes in at around 5 minutes and 50 seconds. And this is when the old lady on the bus comments to Ben that he's quite the little artist in regards to his cast, which oddly just has his own name scrawled on it. And the next clue drops at 7 minutes and 25 seconds when Ben and Liam are sat outside. Ben is seemingly playing Connect 4 alone, and there are three plates at the table. Also, and I think this might just be a continuity error, but one of the counters in the Connect 4 board disappears and reappears at one point. 11 minutes and 40 seconds, Mallory asks Ben if he likes dinosaurs, which may seem a little out of left field until we learn near the climax of the film that Nathan has covered his cast in dinosaur drawings. When on the phone to his mum at 25 minutes and 50 seconds, she tells Ben that she's missed her boys, boys plural. And then at 27 minutes and 6 seconds, Mallory states that there's hardly any room to sign his cast, despite the fact that, as far as we can see, it's almost empty. Then at 35 minutes and 26 seconds, when Ben arrives home drunk after missing the family meal with Sarah, there are four plates set at the table. And a far more sinister nod arrives at 42 minutes and 45 seconds when the hag is at the door looking for poor Dylan. It looks like she's dreamily talking to nobody before focusing on Ben, whereas in reality, she was originally speaking to Nathan. And it's also telling that Ben tells her, "Oh, it's just us here," when he is seemingly alone. And then, after failing to rescue Lily and returning home to find the police in his house, Liam seemingly tells Ben, "You were supposed to stay in your room," whereas in actuality, he was speaking to Nathan, who is quickly ushered away by a freshly hagged Sarah. And then finally, right before the revelation, when Liam discovers the photo of his family, Ben's eyes are also scratched out, along with those of his parents, insinuating that he too has been made to forget something.
Yeah, that's quite a list. And as you said, it's so subtly done that you'd miss it easily if you weren't looking for it. And I certainly did.
I know. I mean, all it would have taken would have been for Ben or someone to make a slightly confused expression or a slight double take at any of those aforementioned moments, and the audience would have been tipped off. But the Pierces brilliantly decide to play it completely straight, and in doing so, are able to hit us with a twist that feels both well earned and entirely natural.
Yeah, so we've spoken before about respecting your audience, and this film definitely gets that balance right. And I think that's really not easy to do.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, I genuinely think this is one of the most well crafted twists ever put to film, and it could so easily have been overplayed and predictable. And what I find most interesting is that even in the script, despite it being a shooting draft, there is no hint of the twist during any of these scenes. It is played completely on the level, only making the big reveal when Ben learns the truth.
Yeah, and I read the script after watching the film and I was looking out for those moments, but it really does keep a lid on it, right? It's really well done. Okay, so let's look at our characters. Are there any introductions that stood out to you as particularly effective or memorable?
I quite like Abby's intro. Check it out. Abby, 30s, a modern mother with an adventurous spirit, follows behind. Several tattoos cover her arms, remnants of the wilder days behind her. And I think this is especially good when juxtaposed with how she presents herself as the hag. Ben gets his first good look at Abby. She's all dolled up and in a sundress, lipstick, lashes, hair styled, the whole package. Also, I feel I need to shout out to poor Sarah here as a character who suffered an awful, undeserved fate. Despite being the other woman, she was never anything but kind and supportive to Ben, and nobody seemed all that cut off about her death in the end. So, R.I.P. Sarah. How about yourself?
So I enjoyed Liam's intro. It doesn't really draw attention to itself, but I think it really sums him up well. So check this. Ben's father follows behind. Liam Shaw, 40s, dressed in a shabby polo shirt and khaki shorts, a newly single dad in desperate need of a woman's touch. So before we break down the scarology, did you have a scariest moment, Lee?
The hag in the nursery looking up at the baby cam before reaching into the baby's cot is literal nightmare fuel for me. And also, there's this scene from the script, which is not only terrifying, but kind of broke my heart a little bit too. Check it out. Exterior, house next door, cellar doors, day. Ty stands over the cellar doors, his face strained. The keys are in his shaking hand. He wants to open the doors, but the hag's pull won't let him. Tears stream down his face. He can't do it, and he exits.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff, isn't it? It's great stuff. So, I mean, I'd have to agree, dude, on the scariest moment. It's that moment with the camera footage. There's something so creepy about that green kind of camera footage, and it's just really effective, when it comes to freaking people out. I also thought the shower sequences were pretty effective too. So the hag's kind of abbey suit is decaying, and they had this misty kind of scratchy quality to those shower sequences and some really great sound design. Okay, so all right, let's break down the scarology. So first of all, yes or no answer, does the film more or less conform to the 10-minute rule?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Great. Break it down for us, Lee.
Okay, so first we get our cold open, which runs until the 4 minutes and 40 seconds mark. And then it's just under 10 minutes until we first come across the dead tree at 14 minutes and 20. Then, around 4 minutes later, the hag is birthed from the rotting deer. And a couple of minutes after that, we see her perched behind Ben on the porch. Then, just under 10 minutes later, at 30 minutes and 15 seconds, we see the thing on the baby cam. And a few minutes after that, at 33 minutes and 55 seconds, poor Sam and Abby both meet their end. Then at 39 minutes and 10 seconds, poor Dylan is confronted by his naked mother and flees to Ben's house, where the hag follows at 42 minutes and 30. Then it's a fair wait for our next disturbing scene as the hag's body starts to fall apart and we see her rotting in the shower at 57 minutes and 5 seconds. And then around 5 minutes later, an hour and 2 minutes 20, poor Lily is dragged beneath the tree. And then 5 minutes after that, 1 hour, 6 minutes and 13, we find that the hag now resides inside Sarah. 4 minutes after that, 1 hour, 10 minutes and 35, Ben is almost drowned in the lake. And 4 minutes after that, Liam discovers the hag's new altar at 1 hour and 14 minutes. Then, an hour and 16 minutes after glimpsing the hag beneath Sarah's skin, the vile creature tears its way out of her. And at 1 hour, 22 and 35, we see the vile witch feasting on poor Dylan's remains before stalking Ben through the tunnels.
Yeah, well, let's break down those acts for you. So, Act One consists of four scares, beginning with our cold open and then holding to the 10-minute rule until we break into Act Two with the hag hiding under the crawl space. Act Two packs seven scares, each fairly evenly paced, with the exception of one gap running slightly over 10 minutes, with four in the first half and three in the second, divided by the aforementioned gap. Act 3 finally hits us with four fast paced scares, evenly placed, with Ben's descent into the witch's tree serving as one long tension trip.
Fantastic. Did you have any thoughts on the themes at work here?
Yeah, so a little tricky this one. I thought the film plays with the fear of the unknown, as a lot of horrors do. Ben is entering into an uncertain future and he's in a town he doesn't know. And visually, there are a lot of off screen or negative space scares, which characters don't see or don't see clearly. In a wider context, I thought this was about probably family dysfunction and the turmoil and displacement kids feel surrounding the divorce of their parents. So, Ben obviously has a lot of angst, and there's obviously this thing about being forgotten in some way, which feeds nicely into the idea of kids suffering through a parent's divorce.
Hmm. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, there's definitely like a corruption of motherhood here as well. I mean, the way Abby goes from a kind, loving, pretty cool mom to something that literally feeds off her children is absolutely terrifying. And also the fear of being forgotten. I mean, we all want to leave our mark on the world, don't we? It plays into Ben's fears about his parents' looming divorce. A fear he'll be forgotten by one or both of his parents as they move on with their lives.
Yeah, I thought that's really cool. So, what, if anything, do you think you learned from the script, Lee?
For me, it's all about the genius planning and insertion of that killer twist. I mean, in hindsight, it's so obvious and so in with the theme of the film, but it completely bowled me over, and it's never is it overstated in the script. You'd miss it just as easily as you do in the film.
Yeah, I thought for me it was really well handled, I thought. I think for me, as we touched on, I enjoyed the way in which the reader was posed the questions a character is thinking. I thought that was really engaging. I also enjoyed how the script at one point, much like the Ruin script that we looked at, laid out overlapping dialogue. Again, splitting the page down the middle with two conversations running on either side of the page. I do enjoy that kind of thing, the configuring of a script directly reflects what's happening on the screen. Well, I think we're almost done here, Lee. Before we wrap up and talk about our next episode, how would you rate the script and the film here?
Okay, I'm going to go 7 on the script and 8 on the film, mainly because I prefer the way the film is structured over the script.
Cool. Well, the script I thought was a solid 7. It was really well written and a nice subtle twist. I thought the film was really well made, and I gave that a 7 too.
Nice. So that gives us a total of 14 out of 20 for the script and 15 out of 20 for the film. I think that's pretty sound, I reckon. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good to me. Yeah. It was a great film. Really enjoyed it, Lee. Yeah, great script as well. So,
Nice.
what's on the agenda for next time, dude?
Next time, we're going to be taking a close-up look at the sleeper creeper from 2023, Cobweb. And if you're a fan of The Boys, you have Anthony Starr minus muscle suit being just as crazy, psychotic, and evil as ever.
Oh, nice, dude. Look forward to that one. So, if you enjoyed the podcast, please hit like and subscribe on your podcatcher of choice, and feel free to leave us a review if you feel so inclined. That would be lovely. Feel free to drop us a line also at scriptoscreenpodcast.com. So, we always love hearing from you guys, and we always love hearing about things you'd like us to cover in the future. But until next time, do take care.
Don't let anything get under your skin and keep on writing those scares.